Welcome back to the eSpecial Needs podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Blanner. Here at eSpecial Needs, we want you to be able to attain not only the products that you need to help your kiddo thrive, but also get information and resources to help your family function at its best. Our guests today are Amy Willard and Catherine Castellitto, who work at an organization called Treehouse that offers equine therapy, also called horse therapy, to individuals with special needs or disabilities. They are going to be discussing how equine therapy can be effective therapy for a plethora of diagnoses and how it works. Welcome, Amy and Kathy.
Kind of introduce us to, let's start by introducing Treehouse as an organization.
Okay. Treehouse is, we're Treehouse of Greater St. Louis. The tree stands for therapy, recreation, education, and exploration. So we used to be known as therapeutic horsemanship. So I know a lot of people in the general public kind of know us by that name. And we are an equine assisted therapy and activities center. Located in Wentzville, and we were founded in 1971, not at this location, but in the St. Charles area. And so, yeah, we've been doing this for a little bit. We've been in this location, I believe, for close to 20 years now. And then, you know, we're always kind of looking at expanding our services, which was one of the reasons behind the name change. We've always been a leader in the educational aspects of this area, in the equine assisted therapy area. So we like to expand on that. And then we are on approximately 85 acres. So
Wow.
There's also plenty of space to recreate and all that good stuff. So
Awesome.
that's the short version.
And then I want you guys to introduce yourselves as well.
Okay. My name is Amy Willard. I am the program director at Treehouse. I have been here for about 15 years. I am also a certified riding instructor. So we are accredited by an organization called Path International. And so they also credential instructors. And then I am also a licensed counselor. So I also work in our mental health services, which is sort of a new service that we are offering.
Jack of all trades here.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything here, but most of us have. So, yeah, so that's me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And hi, my name's Kathy Castellitto. I am the volunteer and outreach manager here at Treehouse of Greater St. Louis. I became involved way back in 1999 when we first moved to Missouri. We had a 5-year-old son who was nonverbal, and he just loved horses at county fairs, and we looked for horseback riding lessons and discovered therapy barns, and we were just thrilled. My young man is now 26, so we've been here a long time. You know, so first and foremost, I am the parent of a client. And then eventually the entire family became volunteers here. And eventually I was asked to become the volunteer and outreach manager. So I've been on staff now about 5 years.
Congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
we love this place.
it sounds like it. So let's kind of talk about equine therapy. Am I saying that right?
You are, yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I have a degree in English, and so like sometimes when you read words and say them out loud, it's like
different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like not what you expect. And so equine therapy is a new term for me. But let's kind of talk about that. So what is equine therapy?
Okay, so equine therapy is basically, the simple answer is utilizing the horse as part of any therapy session, whether that be occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, or psychotherapy. Basically, all these therapies have different modalities or means by which they work with individuals to assist them in their individualized goals. Regardless of what setting you're in. So utilizing a horse partner during these sessions it just is what we're doing for the therapy in this location. So in some cases, the horse might be used as the primary treatment modality, and sometimes it is an adjunct to other treatments. So for example, if we were doing psychotherapy, I may just be using the horse to work on some various treatment goals, or I may utilize the horse along with, for example, cognitive behavior therapy or something like that. Likewise, if I'm a physical therapist, I may be using the horse's movement to work on some core strength, or I may be using the horse along with heat therapy or some other therapy that a physical therapist might use. So
you talked about having like mental health therapy. So how does one do that? Like, is it talk therapy while you're riding horses, or?
It is talk therapy. Sometimes you will be doing mounted work. Oftentimes, however, with the psychotherapy aspect, it is unmounted work. It's groundwork. And a lot of models are built around that, just because in most of those goals, when you are interacting with the horse, typically you're trying to improve a relationship in some way, whether it's a relationship with yourself, with others, whether that's dealing with, depression, anxiety, trauma, whatever that is. There's a lot of things with how we communicate with horses that is just, you're better served from the ground, and really having to work with the horse and build a relationship with that horse. However, we do some mounted work in the psychotherapy services as well. Typically, however, it's utilized more for sensory input. So, if you're working on sort of regulating yourself or building sort of that connection and utilizing the rhythm of the horse to sort of, regulate and de-stress and that type of stuff, if that makes sense. So you're not riding them in the traditional way as far as necessarily in a saddle with a bridle learning to ride. You're using their movement for other means.
That's really neat. I have never heard of that. This is like I said, this is all new to me. This is
when you first hear it, it's like, how in the heck do you do that with a horse?
I mean, I can see why it would be effective. So
a horse is a little easier to build a relationship with because they don't really come in with any expectations. So, so they kind of remove that barrier for some people.
Yeah, that's extremely interesting.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about what makes equine therapy important or effective. And I want to hear both of your perspectives on this.
Okay. Well, I'll go first and then Kathy can go. How's that?
Awesome. Thank you. Sounds good.
Let's see, where to start? So, animals have been engaged for therapeutic purposes for as far back as we've domesticated them. And there's quite a bit of research pointing to animals having the ability to reduce our stress and positively impact people's lives in general. So one of the differences I think that horses bring to that is, of course, we can ride them. We can do mounted work. So we get to experience their movement, which it can be, rhythmic and relaxing, or it can be bouncy and stimulating, depending on what that person's goals are and how we want to meet those. And in a therapy setting, they can be that can be a little bit more controlled. Their movement can be more controlled. So horses can have a tremendous effect on integrating multiple systems, such as our vestibular system, which is how we understand our position as we move through space, on our muscular system. So they activate our core as we learn to balance and adjust our bodies to their movements. Essentially we're borrowing the horse's movement to help stimulate our system in the hopes that then our system can in turn maximize our own abilities. We work a lot on sensory integration. Our systems are constantly gathering information, processing that information, and then communicating what the output should be. So if we have a situation where that sensory input is being disrupted or dysregulated in some way, whether that's due to developmental delays, injury, pain, trauma, whatever that may be, Our nervous systems can be pretty sensitive to changes in the environment. And the horse provides sort of a very holistic approach to a sensory integration experience, if you will. When we work with them, you get the sights of the horse, the smell of the horse, the sound of the horse. You know, they're making noise, they're snorting, they're whinnying, you know, their feet hitting, you know, the ground. Of course, their movement, which is sometimes more lateral, sometimes it's more front to back. So they're really kind of moving your hips and your core, and all of that. So that is all integrated into one complete sensory package. Some people say that horses can replace up to 35 other pieces of equipment if you looked at equipment in other therapy settings. So while you're getting all that sensory integration, you're able to work on successfully navigating that stimulus in a positive and rewarding environment. Then you can sort of start to create different behavior patterns in response to that stimuli. And then the hope is that in creating those new behavior patterns in this environment, you can then create those new neural pathways with that new positive behavior and transfer that outside of the arena and outside of utilizing horses. So then, of course, there's also, you know, the relationship aspect of the horse as well, the emotional aspects. You get to bond with this very large animal that, like I said, doesn't really have any preconceived notions or expectations about what we are. You know, as people, we're sort of actually designed to judge people on certain aspects as a filter, as a means of filtering our world. Horses don't really do that. You're either, or they do it to a much lesser extent. You're either considered safe or you're not. And as long as they feel safe and fairly comfortable, they're usually pretty happy interacting with you. And that can really create a situation for individuals who have maybe not always felt included in their environment to a full extent. You know, they get to be included in this environment. It can be sort of their thing. And there's a lot of adaptations we can do to where also for some of our clients, it's their sport. It's what they do. You know, they may not be able to play baseball or soccer or football like maybe some of their siblings, but, you know, they do horses, which is a very unique and different things. Not a lot of people get to engage with horses on a regular basis. So,
yeah.
That's my...
And I'm going to take that lead from Amy and transfer what she's saying to my son.
Yes.
So Amy's given you the medical aspect of this. You know, we do have licensed occupational therapists, physical therapists, and speech and language pathologists on staff here.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So the movement of the horse affects those clients with doctor's prescriptions for those therapies in an amazing way. And Amy's gone over that. I'm going to take this from a parental point of view. When Amy says you can take those skills and that self-confidence out of the arena and bring it back to your world. My son was nonverbal. It's a cognitive delay. It's a cognitive disability to process language. So even at 26, like, I can't talk this fast with my son. He will not understand a word I have said. But if I talk this slowly, he will understand difficult concepts, but not if I talk like this. It's all one big long word for him. Can't do it. Can't break it down. Working with the horse slowed him down, slowed his whole world around him. And when he would go to school as a kindergartner and go, huh, huh, and we would be able to tell the students he was with and his teachers what he had done over the weekend, how he groomed his horse and how he got to ride, their eyes would get huge. And as he got older, he acquired language. And I can tell you this, school didn't matter to this child. The teacher was speaking of a language he couldn't understand. He couldn't understand language at all. but the horse was his big motivator. If he wanted to groom his horse, he had to take the grooming brush and utter a sound and give it a label, and then he could use it. He'd put it back, he'd take the hoof pick, and his instructor would make him label it, make a sound. It sounded like the name. Then he could use it. And all of a sudden, my son is going, bruh, bruh. And soon he's saying, brush.
Oh.
Oh, and he learned math, because how many legs does the horse have? You've worked on one. How many do you have left? He learned addition and subtraction concepts working with the horse. It's the biggest motivator ever. And it's a leveler at school, as Amy said. He would go to school. Every therapy barn offers a horse show once a year. He would take his ribbons to school, and all of a sudden the kids that wouldn't talk to him because he couldn't answer them, they would gather around him and want to know what that ribbon was all about. Now he's 26. He competes on a national level with equestrians with disabilities. It's a group, a division in the competition horse world. And it doesn't matter who wins, who gets what. They are a family.
That's incredible.
That started here at this barn. People here don't see disabilities. They see a person and what you can do. And they build on that. And you're treated like you're a human being and not a disability. And that's what the horse has done for so many people for thousands of years. That's my view as a parent.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that real quick, which Kathy kind of touched on, is that they're just a real catalyst for therapeutic engagement. They're interesting and unique. Sometimes I think we've all been to a therapy, or many of us, of some kind, whether that's PT or OT or speech. And, it can get a little bit mundane, even though most therapists are wonderful in trying to engage you in it. The horses kind of make our job easy sometimes because they do the engagement side of it, so it makes it interesting and fun, and it doesn't feel like you're in therapy. So, and the more engaged in your therapy you are, then the more successful outcomes you have. So.
eSpecial Needs is a proud retailer of Convade. Convade manufactures high-performance, easy-to-use, and attractive mobility products like strollers, wheelchairs, and other mobility aids for a spectrum of life stages. Convade items are easy to use for the caregiver and the user and offer pristine support and customization options. For limited time, receive your choice of one of 2 accessories free with a Convade item from eSpecial Needs. To purchase, go to eSpecialNeeds.com. The Convade Vivo is excluded in this promotion. Free shipping is available in the U.S. for shipments within the 48 contiguous states only. Remember to consult your physician or therapist before purchasing.
Shifting gears a little bit, one of the questions that I had when you guys were both talking is, how do you choose the horses that are used for therapy? Like, can you just take any old horse, or do you have to like pick specific ones with certain personality traits, or how does it work?
Yeah, that's a good question. And we do. There's many different things that we're looking for. So all of our horses, any horse that comes into our program, goes through a pretty lengthy evaluation and training process. Personality, of course, is a huge one. They have to like working with people. They have to be okay with lots of different people around them at one time. Different noises, different sights, different sounds than what, your average horse may be introduced to. They also need to be physically sound, while we do have a number of older horses, just because, like people, sometimes they become a bit more docile and calm as they age, a little bit more experienced, I should say, with things and comfortable with different things. But they do need to be sound, because we are looking for good quality movement, which is something else we look for in a horse. How do they move? What type of movement do they provide to the rider? Is it an even, steady gait? If they have lameness or soreness issues, that gait is going to be off. It's not going to be even. And if you have a rider on them that you're looking to sort of improve their gait to make it more functional, well, you don't want to put them on a horse that's got an uneven gait. Otherwise, that's kind of what our bodies are learning. So we want the body of the rider to learn what a more natural functional gait is. So the horse is there to help provide that. And then also, size. Sometimes it depends on kind of the size of the clients we have at that time. Sometimes we might need more smaller horses. Sometimes we might need more large horses. Breed, color, and all that stuff doesn't really matter. There's certain breeds that have more of a tendency to work in this field just because of their general personalities. But so we look for a lot of that, and we put them, like I said, through pretty extensive training process before a client is ever anywhere near them, to ensure as much as possible with an animal that can very much think for itself, that it not only is comfortable with this work, but it enjoys this work. So anyway.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah,
I would not have
it's
known.
fun.
So again, a different question that I have is kind of like, so with equine therapy, what kind of diagnoses benefit from it?
So we work with individuals with all types of diagnoses. So we have individuals on the autism spectrum. We have individuals diagnosed with Down syndrome, anxiety, depression, cerebral palsy. Really, there's a lot. I wouldn't say any diagnosis are, we're able to work with almost any diagnosis. There are, however, some contraindications and precautions with certain diagnoses. Spinal cord injury, for example, or if someone has some skin breakdown issues, or if you have uncontrolled seizures. So things like that. So there are some factors that can be contraindicated for this type of therapy. And but we talk to people when they call. We can answer those questions, and then all of our clients go through a thorough evaluation before beginning services. So we can kind of go through all of that. We can decide which horse is going to be optimal for that client, what therapist, what type of therapy. Sometimes that may change once they get here. So yeah, and one thing I don't know if we made clear that I should make clear is there is also what is called therapeutic riding, and that is different when we are referring to the equine therapy. So the therapeutic riding, and that's a kind of a confusing thing, I think, for parents coming into this world and trying to figure out, what their person needs. So if it's therapy, then they should be working with a licensed therapist, whether that's OT, PT, speech, or psychotherapy. If they're doing therapeutic riding, then they are working with typically a certified riding instructor. And oftentimes that's in groups. It doesn't always have to be, but it can be in groups. So in therapeutic riding, we still have personal goals, and those goals may still consist of things like improving communication, socialization with peers is a big one, just getting them out in the community and recreating and integrating with the community and things like that. So we still have individualized goals and plans for those in therapeutic riding. But it is with an instructor, not a licensed therapist. So I just want to make sure that people are clear on that. If they're going and they're calling a center, that's kind of the difference. Okay.
I did not know that either. So
yeah.
I'm just learning all the things today.
It all kind of just gets lumped into one category. So
but yeah,
it's an important distinction though, just so people know what they're getting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk kind of about the process of introducing a child to a horse. How does that work?
Sure. So oftentimes if a client calls us and they're interested and they have all their forms and information in and all that good stuff, then they're all set up and ready to go, and it is time for their evaluation. So that's one reason we do the evaluation of many. They usually do a quick tour. They get to kind of see the horses. And then we have a horse that we've sort of picked out for them that day based on their diagnosis, and size and things of that nature. And then, they're just introduced to the horse from the ground. You know, they get to meet the horse, hear its name, give it a pet. We explain a little bit about how we interact with horses in order to keep everybody safe and comfortable. And then depending on the type of evaluation it is, there may be a portion of the evaluation that is mounted where they're put onto the horse. So yeah, that's how we introduce it. You know, most people are very excited and ready to interact with the horse.
Imaginably so.
So usually it's the other parts of the evaluation are the parts that the people are like, okay, come on, you know, let's get to the horse. However, we do occasionally have individuals who are sort of taken aback by the horse, or they haven't had experience with horses. I mean, they are large animals, so they can be a bit intimidating. So we just take our time with that person and make sure that they get comfortable and feel safe and know what they need to do to keep themselves safe working around the horse. And then if there is a mounted component in the evaluation, even if there's a little bit of fear, because some people, you know, are also fearful of heights, you know, and so you're getting on this animal. Typically, once the horse starts moving, you kind of see the person relax, and usually, oftentimes, if it's a kiddo, or not a kiddo, actually, even adults, a huge grin crosses their face. So yeah, we kind of, you know, the evaluation is really your time to interact with the therapist that's evaluating the person and get to know each other and see what's going to work for that person. But yeah, our horses, you know, we choose horses who are very friendly and safe and enjoy interacting with people. So usually the horses have a good way of making the person feel comfortable. Progress looks very, very different for everyone, of course. Everybody has an individualized goals and an individualized plan, and progress for one might simply be getting out of the house and coming to their session and just having that hour of, you know, interacting with other people and their horse, you know. So sometimes that's progress. Sometimes progress is, you know, we've had clients experience saying their first word, taking their first step. We've had many clients grow from, you know, just being sort of very quiet and not really wanting to interact with others to now like, hey, this is my thing and I'm going to tell people about it. And, you know, so increasing in confidence and improved self-esteem and, you know, so progress can look like a lot of different things for different people, but those are kind of some of the basic. It can look different for everybody. Like she said, for Robert, that is now.
Yes, depends upon the goal. And if we use Robert, because of his lack of language, his social skills weren't there. Robert's disability is a language processing disability. He is not on the autism spectrum. So he's always been capable of socializing and reading other people, but wasn't given much opportunity because people wouldn't engage him when he was little. Now that's a whole different story. He will go up to any stranger in a barn at any horse show, anywhere, Tulsa, Ohio, Mississippi, and start a conversation about horses, which is phenomenal.
That is phenomenal.
We've got other clients who perhaps don't have social skills because their disability is what other people see as opposed to the person. And here, that's not what's happening. They're engaged whether they have language skills or not. There are some goals, especially for our riders who are here for recreational purposes. They have fun here. It's a place where Even if they're nonverbal, they may have severe physical disabilities, but we've got the volunteer support to allow them to ride, and make sure we've got sidewalkers and leaders. So people are accomplishing things that they thought they would never do before. Riding a horse is a big deal. So those are, looking, because my son's disability is an emotional and cognitive one. So I come at this from that point of view. From the physical and occupational point of view, we had one little girl here who has a balancing issue. It's an inner ear condition. She started riding and could barely keep her balance on the horse. She can now ride kneeling, a tall kneel without holding on.
Wow.
Just kneeling on the back of the horse and stay
That's incredible.
balanced.
Most people can't even do that.
Yeah. Exactly. But after months of the horse reconditioning her brain, rewiring her, it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
it really
that's
is.
incredible.
So we do a lot of activities and exercises on and off of the horse as well. So it's not just sort of sitting there on the horse. They're doing lots of reaching and crossing midline and playing games. And like Kathy said before, maybe doing sequencing and motor planning, learning their numbers and their colors. And, you can lead a horse through an obstacle, and that helps with direction following. So lots of different activities while they're interacting with the horse.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
Yep.
So how can families get set up with your organization? And is there a cost? And what are the requirements for an individual seeking to get set up with Treehouse?
Yeah. So the easiest way is probably to go to our website, which is www.thstl.org, and you can look under programs, and our registration packet and information is there. So first they will fill out the registration packet. That does include some paperwork that has to be completed by a doctor. And then once that is complete, that will go to Kathy actually, and she will process your paperwork. And then you will get set up for an evaluation. So, and then once the evaluation is complete, and we have all the information we need, and you have all the information that you need, we can get you set up on our schedule. So, and then Kathy and my email addresses are also on the website. So her and I are the ones you'll interact with the most when you're first starting services. And then cost depends partly on the program that you're entering. So our therapy programs, which is the OT, PT, speech, and psychotherapy, are $125 a session. And then, and those are typically scheduled on a weekly basis and are between 45 minutes and 60 minutes long typically. And then our therapeutic riding is $50 a session. And again, that's usually with a group of individuals riding together, and are typically between 45 minutes and an hour long, depending on the size of the group as well. I think, did I answer all your questions?
I think so.
Okay.
And so can patrons donate to Treehouse?
Yes, they can, for sure. And, at this time, I would have to say that it's probably more important than ever for us, because we had one of our largest fundraisers. It takes place in May, and it correlates with the Derby, the Kentucky Derby. And so we had to cancel that due to all of the pandemic and all of that. So anyway, again, the easiest way to donate is to go to our website, and there is a donate tab. Our fundraisers, so when a person comes in and receives our services, and whether they're paying it or another agency is paying it, we are only paid about 50% of the actual cost of that session. So we kind of have to fill in the gap other places, and our fundraisers serve to help fill that. Our fundraisers and grants help to fill that other for 50% gap. So that's kind of why our fundraisers are important. And then, like many places, we had to cancel that fundraiser. So yeah, they can go online and get all the information they need. And again, they would just go to the donate tab.
Now, there are some other ways. Most important is that going online to our website. But in this day and age, there's also Facebook. Facebook has fundraisers. So if anybody would like to create a Facebook fundraiser for Treehouse of Greater St. Louis, that would be great. And of course, people can always mail a check-in.
Kathy, I do have a question for you. How do you acquire volunteers?
We have many ways. Again, the world of technology, if you Google volunteer Wentzville or volunteer animals, there's an organization called, or an app called Volunteer Match. So we have our volunteer opportunities listed with them. Volunteer Team. We go to colleges and to various organizations and corporations that have volunteer resource fairs to let their students and their employees know how they can get involved in the local community. We also go to a lot of resource fairs that people offer, school districts do, both to let the community know what resources are available for families with a member with a disability. And also, they have volunteer requirements for their students, so we can fulfill most of that.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And so, what roles do volunteers play in the organization?
Catherine, we wouldn't be here without our volunteers. If you've got a client enrolled in hippotherapy, which would be the occupational therapy, physical therapy, or speech and language, they're doing exercises on the back of the horse. They are not learning how to ride. So their focus, they're receiving the input from the horse's movement while they are doing other tasks on the back of the horse. So our volunteers start off as sidewalkers, walking beside that client and keeping that client balanced while they sit forward, sit sideways, sit backwards, kneel, or even stand on that horse. Also, they are far-reaching, leaning out to put rings on candy canes and doing all kinds of wonderful, interesting games on the back of the horse. Sidewalkers are helping to keep the rider focused and safe while they're doing that. In the meantime, we've got a leader, another volunteer, who has learned through our special training how to get certain movements from the horse. Do you want a slow walk? Do you want a faster walk? What input does this client need from the horse? Are we trotting? Are we doing figure eights to get certain movement from the rider? Move that rider's body in a different way. Then we have our volunteers who are horse handlers, and they are the ones who will go out to the pastures in the morning, bring the horses in, they will groom them, and when it's time for that horse's lesson, they will tack up the horse. Many times our clients in the Adaptive Therapeutic Riding program will do that themselves. But for our clients here for OTPT or speech and language, our volunteers are not only bringing in the horses and grooming them, they are also tacking them up.
What do you mean by tacking them up?
So you can see. Oh, my apologies. They're putting the equipment on the horse.
Awesome.
They're putting the saddle pad, the saddle, the reins, and any special adaptive equipment that certain riders need to help them balance on the horse. So without our volunteers, we wouldn't exist.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they are what make this therapy work.
Yeah.
First and foremost, the horse.
Yeah.
The people who take care of that horse.
So moving along, let's kind of talk about a success story. So we've heard about your son. You could go more into that, or we could tell another story, whatever you guys are feeling.
Well, we also serve
Oh,
veterans.
wow.
And we have a wonderful scholarship program here for our military vets, whether active duty or not. We had an absolutely awesome young woman come to us many, many years ago. What the horse can do for a person who has post-traumatic stress disorder is phenomenal. This young woman would not let people near her. She had been traumatized not only through her service, but in other ways, both before and after she was a vet. And our horses here were, and our therapists and volunteers were able to help her get over a lot of concerns. And she is now a huge, huge advocate for military veterans in more ways than one. So she is, she's a major success story with us.
Yeah. The funny thing too is one of her favorite things to do when she was here is to, when she was getting on and off the horse, was to just lay across the horse on her belly.
Oh, wow.
And it really connected her to the horse in a different way. She was kind of wrapping her body around the horse in a different way. It relaxed her back and stretched her back. So it was just sort of a different way of experiencing the horse that was very, I think, personal to her and really kind of, helped her relax and just connect with the horse and connect with a different part of her that could be calm and feel good. So yeah, she's a great success story. And another real short one is we had a kiddo here many years ago who had selective mutism, which means they are not talking. They won't talk. They can talk. They have the ability to talk, but they've chosen not to. So anyway, he came here and I think maybe had ridden a handful of times, and we do a lot of talking to our horse. We say the horse's name and we ask them to whoa, which is to stop. Java, for instance, he's one of our horses. Tell Java to walk on, tell Java to whoa, things like that. And, he started talking, because all the other kiddos in his class were talking to their horse and getting them to stop and getting them to walk. And so it was just a very natural, easy, it kind of just came blurting out. We didn't really have to work on trying to get him to talk. We just kind of went through the regular motions of a therapeutic riding program and talked about how you work with a horse, and it just kind of naturally came out. So that's I think an interesting success story too on sort of the different spectrum of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Diagnosis. Yeah.
Well, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So, any questions that I should have asked but didn't?
Oh gosh, not that I can think of. These were great questions.
I'm very, like I said, new to this.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of anything that we may not have covered from a family perspective, But yeah, I think we covered a lot. I think these were good questions. Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been very
Yeah, you guys were both extremely delightful to talk with.
Well, good. Good. You were too. Yeah. It's very easy to chat with you.
Yeah. So final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Gosh, this is the part where I usually say, man, come on out. you gotta
come see who we are.
Right. You gotta see it to believe it. And then
I want to come so bad.
We can show you everything and you can touch a horse and all that good stuff. So unfortunately, I can't say that right now. But we're happy to talk to anybody who is interested at any time. Like I said, Kathy and I are usually their first point of contact. We can answer any questions, any concerns. Once we sort of start gearing up and going again and have gotten clients back and hopefully reach a point where, we are open to the general public, then we always welcome people out for tours. If they just kind of want to, they're just not sure and they kind of want to see it. We always tell people, if they can call and schedule that ahead of time, then we can donate, be sure we have that time available for them to answer any of their questions. But at that time, it will just have to be over the phone or via email or Zoom. I'm sure everybody
Yes.
joined their virtual time. We've all gotten plenty of that, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that's kind of mine. If people are interested, just give us a call and we'll answer your questions. I will say, though, we do have a wait list. We had a wait list, before all of this kind of took place. So I'm sure getting through our wait list once we get back going will take a little bit of time. But anyway, we'll do everything we can to get people out here, because we think it's wonderful and highly beneficial, and many of our clients have said so themselves. So thank you for having us so much.
Thank you for coming on. Thanks for taking your time with me. I'm really excited to have had you on this podcast, and it was great to learn about equine therapy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and therapeutic riding.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
My final thought is just to, I'm not sure when I was off, is our mission. Our mission is to improve
Kathy.
the lives of individuals. Yeah,
I missed that.
that's okay. And that'll explain our name too. Our mission, is to improve the lives of individuals with disabilities and their families, and we do it through the 4 branches of Treehouse: therapy, recreation, education, and exploration. And, looking to the future, our summer camps this year, just didn't happen because of what's going on. We have wonderful virtual camps, however, that are in place and ready to roll if anybody wants to attend. But that is part of serving the families. We have a fish pond that was going to be up and going this year, but with the COVID-19, it isn't. But looking to the future, this was our goal is to be a place where we can serve not only the individual with the disability, that individual's family. That this is a place where the whole family feels welcome and has something to do, so that therapy doesn't become a chore. It becomes a pleasure for the whole family.
Holistic approach.
And that's my final thought. So thank you,
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy and Amy. This was awesome.
Thank you for listening to the eSpecial Needs podcast. Visit us at eSpecialNeeds.com for a wide selection of adaptive equipment, therapy items, daily living aids, and sensory solutions. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. This podcast is produced and hosted by Catherine Blanner with help from Jason Hinklin Lauderdale.